Oh, hello. Do you think that Big Brother's watching? Or that the Illuminati is planning to take over the world? Have you happened to have an encounter with a space alien today? Well, if the answer to those questions is yes, then grab your hat. This is tinfoil hat time. Greetings and welcome back to Tinfoil Hat Time. We are reporting from the Minority Report Crime Investigation Lab. Of course, we're visited by a few space aliens and, things like that. But today we're going to be talking about this predictive policing stuff. And, I do apologize for the delay. I was just watching this video. It was just way too funny. We'll talk about that after we get into some of the initial comments. So, greetings everybody. Enigma's on. Always too late. I don't know, man. This is the early live stream that I do. I don't know. I do later ones too, but this is my early one. Isaiah, yes, I think that the original article that I'm using here was sent by Isaiah. So, just a note: if you do send me fun articles, they may or may not eventually get put into Tinfoil Hat Times. Fair West, greetings, KO2610, your time has come, this is the time it starts, yep, alright. Q1 Fiend, greetings on there, helmet is on, yes, so is mine, and I remembered my hat today, it's quite shocking. It is on the head, alright. Let's see, they do not let the Illuminati aliens read my mind, yep, we don't want the Illuminati to read our mind. Notice that I gave Tom Cruise back there a hat as well. So I gave Tom Cruise a tinfoil hat as well. Greetings, Ryan. Hello, Colmer. Let's see. Mitchell, how's the weather? Cold. Looks like around 30s. Let's see. Yes, we are reporting minorities. In fact, that is indeed the problem with predictive policing. We'll get into more of that a little bit later. But here we are reporting from the squad room here at Minority Report. Let's see. Already, what a nice way to end the cat nap. All right. If only the kitty would wear a hat. He just doesn't like hats. Kitty cam are not allowed on this stream. All right. So, hello, Naras. Greetings. Hello, Keegan. All right. So, what was the video that I was delayed for? Well, I've been watching a lot of videos relating to the predictive policing, and the very next thing that showed up in my feed was this video on bicycle riding is a crime in Concord, New Hampshire. I'm like, I've been to Concord. It's a nice little place. Let's go ahead and watch this video. So this guy is riding his bike on the sidewalk the wrong way down a one-way street. And so he's stopped by a police officer. And police officer's like, hey, I stopped you because, you're riding your bicycle on the sidewalk. That is illegal. You're going the wrong way down a one-way street. That is also illegal. Can I have your identification? And the guy's like, nope, I want to talk to a supervisor. So the guy says, you don't want to give me your identification? Nope, I want to talk to a supervisor. All right. So he calls in to get a supervisor. So another officer shows up on the scene because, when one officer is involved in a stop, usually another officer will back up if he sees him there, just, give him some backup support. He's like, you want to just give us your identification? He's like, literally, this isn't even really worth my time for a citation. I just need your identification, put in a police report. Hey, I stopped the guy, give him a warning, be on your way. The guy was just being a jerk. He's just like, nope, I'm not giving you my identification. Tell me what law, quote verbatim the law that I have to give you my identification. It's like, so the shift supervisor shows up. He asks, okay, you are stopped because you're riding your bike on the sidewalk the wrong way down a one-way street. As a bicyclist, you have to follow the same exact laws as a motor vehicle. And the guy's just like, well, tell me the law verbatim that I need. He's like, I don't have these laws memorized. No, I'm not going to go on and find you that. You've been stopped. You are being detained. We need your information. The guy would not give his information, so they arrested him because that's what they're supposed to do. Guys, moral of the story is this: don't be a jerk to the police officers. Believe it or not, they're not all out for our blood. There might be a few out there that maybe have that intention, but they're not all out for our blood, people. They're just people like the rest of us doing their job, and their job is to make things safe. And, if they see an infraction of the law, they need to stop. And, you know, frankly, if you are nice and smile and you're courteous and you're polite and you answer their questions, more often than not, you will be on your way with nothing more than a warning and whatever. You know, but when you want to stop and be a jerk to the police, don't, you know, yeah, you're going to get arrested. And then, you know what? Listen, the guy also had a bowl in his pocket, which allegedly was probably, you know, empty or whatever, according to the guy anyway. But he had a bowl in his pocket. Literally, if this guy had taken out his ID, given it to the police officer wrote it down, said, okay, I stopped this guy, little police report, yep, just a small traffic stop, sent the guy on his way, no big deal. Now the guy's arrested. He's arrested for probably the maximum charge he could possibly get for riding a bicycle on the sidewalk the wrong way down the street, which is 2 misdemeanor fines. And now, though, he potentially has a drug paraphernalia charge to add to that, all for being a moron and not giving the police their identification. What do you expect from a culture that eats Tide? I mean, really. I mean, guys, the police are not jerks. Just, I mean, answer their question. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you get in some major situation, it's advisable, get a lawyer there. But, you know, riding your bike down the wrong way on a street, you got to be aware of that issue. And you got to be aware of the laws. Most cities, in the heart of the city, you are not allowed to ride your bike on the sidewalk. In State College, downtown State College, between this street and this street, I think the street neighboring the university up to, I think, 3 or 4 blocks up, you are not allowed to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. Outside of that range, you can ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. The reason is very simple. Inside those ranges that they have set are very, very, very pedestrian traffic heavy places. Outside of that, they're like, the law says, you got to stop for the people passing by on the sidewalk, but otherwise, you're okay to ride your bike on the sidewalk. That's how it is in most cities. So, so that was a good hoot. It was a good hoot. All right, so let's go ahead now that we have got that out of our system. Let's talk about this whole predictive policing thing. And this is specifically dealing with some kind of hidden secret predictive policing model that was being used in New Orleans, but it goes a little bit further into all of this. And so let's go ahead and talk about what is predictive policing, what are the challenges. Now, predictive policing in your very basic model system, I don't have a huge deal with it. Okay, and the reason is all they're doing is they're taking the data. They're taking like the city geographical data, they're taking the weather data, they're taking actual reported crime data, they're implementing all of this into a system, and the system gives the police the most likely places of crime. Now, there is some intrinsic bias into the system, and that's what lends itself the problem. The intrinsic bias into the system is that it utilizes the crimes that are going on, and it just happens to turn out that in most inner cities, most of the crime arrests happen to be done in minority neighborhoods. That is where we get our problem. And so what happens is you have the purification, the same exact reason why it is kind of against the law to marry your first cousin is because what happens is the genes get inbred and start mixing things up. So as these PredPol or predictive police systems get deployed, they start sending police officers to basically they'll send police officers to more greatly patrol in areas that have reported the more crime in the past, which is your minority areas. So your majority areas, in other words, your affluent white neighborhoods, get less police patrols. Your black neighborhoods, minority neighborhoods, get more police patrols. That tends to lead to more arrests, more data going into the system, and the PredPol system becomes biased towards minority neighborhoods. That seems to be what people are talking about in the midst of all of this. And of course, there are actually several articles that talk about this general trend. And so in this article here from the Washington Post, this about a year and a half ago, about 18-ish months ago or so. So the police are using software to predict crime. Is this the holy grail, or is it being biased against minorities? That's what they're asking in this. And the reality is they're really not even predicting crime. what these are doing, and of course, Minority Report issue in here. In the movie Minority Report, if you've never seen it, you have 3 what are called precogs. The precogs are actually telepathic and they see the future. Based upon the 3 of them agreeing on the future event, it produces the model that a crime is going to occur. And that is the premise behind Minority Report. So in this case, it really is a predicted, foreseen future event that they are interfering with. They are stopping that foreseen criminal event, thus stopping the crime. That raises a different ethics question. Now, what the Predpol systems are doing to differentiate this is these are utilizing a series of models, very much like the same models used to predict earthquakes and aftershocks, to indicate the places where it's better to increase police presence. Of course, the problem is it's based on past records. And so effectively, all that happens is that you increase the police presence in the place where crime has already been at. We don't need algorithms for this. But the challenge becomes, as we have mentioned, is that as more and more minority neighborhoods get reported, this means that more and more police presence is in minority neighborhoods, and the affluent neighborhoods are greatly reduced. Now, I did another video. Sort of on this topic a little while back, and in that, some of my research led me to some TED Talks where they looked at some of these predictive policing models. We're always talking about crime is going down. The reality is crime does not go down. Violent crime goes down. White-collar crime goes up. Total crime goes up. Minority crime and police presence in minority neighborhoods goes up. Minority arrests go up. Affluent arrests don't. They actually go down. That is what introduces the bias in the system, and that is why I think this entire model is wrong to use. In some of these articles, this article here is following this LA police officer, Charles Coleman, where he kind of drives around the neighborhood in his SUV, hitting the places that their Predpol system, which is widely used in Los Angeles, predicts crimes are likely to be. Now, the one hand, the presence of more police becomes a deterrent for more crime. And so that is definitely a thing that we need to keep in mind. So patrolling areas that generally report higher crime does tend to lead to a decrease in crime in that area, but an increase in crime in other places. So if you were able to get the public sourced Predpol, which does exist, and you can get a copy of it, and run those neighborhoods. If I wanted to be a crime boss, I'd run the neighborhoods and then go as far away from those red spots and commit my crime over there. I mean, because no one's looking over there. They're not sending police where the Predpol system's not sending police. So that raises a problem. But another challenge that some people make is that what if these police officers being deployed to these areas start seeing the people they encounter in these areas as potential criminals? Then the police start to introduce their own bias, and their own bias starts to suggest that it can basically make the police officer more protagonistic or antagonistic, I guess, and in which case people will start to start seeing other people as more problematic than they really are. Let's see. I think my live stream system is not working well right now. Let me go ahead and verify something real quick. Every now and again, YouTube messes with some algorithms and it causes weird stuff to happen. 26, 27, 29, pause. Okay, it seems to be working. You guys are just excessively silent tonight. Maybe you're still in awe of the stupidity of the guy in Concord. All right. And so... Hey, there's some folks talking. All right. And so this article is starting with just following this officer. Now, one of the fascinating things I found doing the research is it's like doing research on an Apple product, all I'm finding is fluffy articles talk about how good this is. I'm not seeing very few people tell me how things really happen to be. The smart speaker from Apple is just amazing. Really? It can't do anything except on the surface communicate with Siri products and, you know, maybe leave white marks on your wooden surfaces, but you know, it's kind of interesting. But the challenge is, of course, here is a picture of this guy's map. So he basically has a map with red blocks, and the red blocks predict, okay, we predict that it's very possible that a burglary might happen on this red map today. And, you know, something else might happen on this red map today. And so we get a lot of these type of situations. But what a lot of people are asking is, do these maps actually work, or do these maps really just send people into minority neighborhoods? And so basically from Mike or Mick, is this, I don't know what this says, but what these guys are saying here is that crime prediction tool PredPol amplifies racially biased police, according to some other studies that are done. And what makes this particularly challenging is that the algorithms that are used and the methodologies they're using, they are proprietary. We don't know how they're actually working, so we can't really determine things. But again, this is not, at this point in time, we're not looking at a system that sends police after an individual person. That's important for this PredPol. It sends them to locations. It turns out that the locations generally tend to be to minority neighborhoods, and that's what the problem happens to be. So basically, and according to what some people are saying, is that, yeah, all of these things are doing is giving us, you know, common sense stuff. These models are supposed to give you some unseen insight where crime is supposed to be, but it's just common sense. Yeah, going to where the criminals tend to be. Going to the regular criminal hotspots. If you happen to know that the drug dealer sits at the corner of the 7-Eleven, then sending a police officer to monitor the corner of 7-Eleven will either result in an arrest or prevent some crime from happening. I mean, this is pretty common sense stuff. So that's what a lot of what they're talking about. The problem I have with a lot of this is that it starts to kick the foot in the door and starts to widen things up. Because now here is utilizing, now what this group did looking at this is they used the publicly available version of the algorithm, which is different from what law enforcement have. And they applied it to a high crime city that is not actually using it, and this is Oakland. And so looking at Oakland, here is your estimated drug crime arrests. This is your drug arrests in 2010, and here's what PredPol targets should be. Is it any shocking thing that if there is a high proportion of drug arrests in this one neighborhood up here, is it not making a little bit of sense that, duh, let's send more police there? Again, common sense stuff. Not something that we need a department to spend $3 or $4 million of taxpayer funds to figure out. I mean, in all reality. So that is kind of the case there. And so these guys looked at some things. So here is one of the fascinating pieces of bias. Looking at PredPol targets based on the neighborhoods, note that the target for white is the lowest, other is medium, and black is the highest, but the actual estimated drug use based upon actual criminal data is the white is the highest, black is the medium, and other is the lowest. Which raises some interesting questions, and there is a disclaimer that they do appropriately put in this article, and the disclaimer is that PredPol is generally used to target violent crimes and burglaries, not drug use. So that is kind of the case. But regardless, they did demonstrate that the system does tend to put police presence in minority neighborhoods more than they have in non-minority neighborhoods, and that is a big challenge because we don't need that type of minority bias. See you later, Isaiah. How's an emergency? I hope all is well. Now, the problem, if you just go into a computer model, taking into account the weather, the geography, and the current, you know, the crime arrests, bad enough. But then there is another component attached to many of these databases that will produce risk assessment. So risk assessment was looked at by ProPublica. Now, of course, the company they were looking at, which was, I think, North Point, I think. It's in the article somewhere. I'll try and find it. Basically, what they were doing is they looked at what the risk bias statistics happened to be and found that they were very prejudicial towards minorities. And that is, again, as ProPublica says, a serious problem. Now, the company behind this says, we just disagree with your statements. But they won't release the code, they won't release their information, and they won't release their own studies. So I'm left saying, okay, well, ProPublica went ahead and released all of their studies. It's now up to the company to come back and say, no, here's real data that we're using. They won't do it. They refuse to do it. That's the problem. So what they did is they looked at a series of crime arrests for very similar types of crimes. So they describe Vernon Prater and who's this other lady? Brisha Borden. So Brisha Borden is a black female who is 18, and Vernon Prater is a white male who is 41. Both of them have some minor criminal activity. Brisha Borden, the black female, who is only 18, I think, is only 18, she's had a couple little misdemeanor type things as a youth, which, by the way, as a youth, and if you don't get anything worse, is supposed to be expunged. Vernon Prater is 41. Now, both of them commit a theft type crime valued at about $80. In Borden, I apologize. Borden's case, Lizzie Borden with an I. Okay. In Borden's case, basically her and her friend, they see this, this little kid's bike that was not locked on a bike chain. They took it and they start goofing around with it down the street. Somebody calls the police. Some lady yells at them, hey, that's my kid's stuff. They drop the stuff and they leave. Or actually, I don't think they ran. They just kind of dropped the stuff and kind of left it where it was. Well, the police were already called, so they show up. They arrest her for theft, $80 misdemeanor theft. Prater has a large, including jail time, background, including armed robbery, attempted armed robbery, 5 years in prison. He is picked up for stealing $86 worth of tools from a Home Depot store nearby. Same community. So this lady, Borden, is given a high-risk score. She has 4 prior juvenile offenses, all misdemeanor. No other subsequent offenses. She is listed by the risk prevention task as an 8. High risk. Watch this person. Vernon Prater has 2 prior offenses, armed robbery, 1 attempted armed robbery, and also has a subsequent offense. So prior is before this arrest. After is subsequent is after this arrest. They give him, a white male, a risk score of 3. That's what ProPublica says. Well, what is so weird? Why is this so weird? So then they're like, let's look at some other ones. Now, they actually obtained risk scores for 7,000 people in this county and double-checked with how many were charged with new crimes over the next 2 years using the same benchmark used by the algorithm. Sounds to me like it's a fairly reasonable study. All right. So the next one that they found is this one. 2 drug possession arrests. Dylan Fugate, low risk, 3, white male. Bernard Parker, high risk, 10, black male. Okay, 1 prior offense for the white male for attempted burglary. That means he is caught trying to break into someone's house. Versus Bernard Parker has 1 prior offense, resisting arrest without violence. Kind of like our Concord biker. Okay. Our low-risk guy has 3 subsequent arrests for drug possession, and the high-risk 10, 0 subsequent arrests. 19 different methodologies, So here is their risk scores. Notice here that in the risk scores, that the black defendants' risk scores, there were, I mean, pretty high amounts. So the number of counts, you know, between 300 and 350 in all categories except 10, little over 200. Like I estimate 225, 230. That's a lot. But look at your white defense risk scores. The people have a low risk score, 600, and then the next highest is like 315, 320, and then it just goes way down from there. It seems pretty biased to me, to be quite honest. And so, basically, the people who did this, North Point, so North Point is the person behind this company. They came out and say, no, we disagree with your studies. Yeah. No, we're not going to release any of our data. Our stuff is proprietary. We got to keep it. But your studies are wrong. You know what? ProPublica, whether you like them or you don't like them, they produced and released the results of their studies. Now let's see North Point come out with a corollary study actually demonstrating it. Don't give me your PR person statement, because I know that if a PR person starts talking, someone's lying. The PR guy. You can tell a PR person's lying if their lips are moving. And so, you know, they're like, no, our system works well. This is a very good system. Yeah. No, we're not releasing any of our data. That's kind of what the problem happens to be. So here's another one. 2 DUI arrests. Gregory Lugio. He looks either white or possibly Hispanic. Low risk, 1. Looks like a black female. Mallory Williams, medium risk, 6. Let's see what he's got. Gregory has 3 prior offenses, 3 DUIs, and 1 battery. He has 1 subsequent offense to 1 domestic violence with battery. Low risk, 1. Versus our black female, 2 prior offenses that were misdemeanors, so we don't even know what they are, and 0 subsequent offenses. It sounds to me like this thing's being pretty biased. And that's kind of what's happening. So labeled high risk but did not reoffend, white 23%. Labeled low risk, yet did reoffend, 47%. Among your African Americans, labeled high risk but did not reoffend, 44%. Labeled lower risk but did reoffend, 28.0%. Everywhere in this, it sounds like your black defendants are getting a bad shake at things. This is a problem. So having a look through that article would be fascinating. I also kind of like this article here, which talks about how some of these predictive policing things, they're being promoted as a good thing even before any stats are in. And I have to increase the font size of this page because this page is really tiny text for some reason. All right. So here, the day before Halloween 2012, Donnie Fowler, a lobbyist and little-known tech startup called Predpol, emailed a confidential login and password to the San Francisco Police Department Chief Information Officer, Susan Merritt. The password allowed Merritt to log into an online mapping tool that, according to Fowler and her business partners, was already predicting where crimes were likely to happen across San Francisco. Fowler was, if his company was to be believed, giving San Francisco Police Department, SFPD, the keys to the next generation of crime fighting, a program that draws from the past to help police presumably change the future. Predpol was hoping San Francisco would be wooed by the sci-fi promise of its product. After all, media certainly has been. All right, so the problem is that we are getting more marketing in the absence of anything else. And lots of these companies are showing up, and there was one specific quote I wanted to look at here. It is on page 1, I know that, and it was a very scary quote. Okay, it's got a marketing strategy that recalls a military conquest. Predpol has required police departments, here's where I'm highlighting from, has required police departments that sign up to refer the company to other law enforcement agencies and to appear in flashy press conferences endorsing the software as a crime reducer, despite the fact its effectiveness had not yet been proven. That is kind of scary stuff, is it not? Is it not? So they are utilizing this marketing approach, much like I said, like Apple. All of these people, in order to, not get raided by ICE and to keep the Apple marketing dollars flowing, they are required to give fluff pieces to products that aren't even in the market yet. It's a means to sell the product. That's what PredPol is doing, is required police departments that sign on to the company to refer the company to other law enforcement agencies and appear in a flashy press conferences endorsing the software as a crime reducer despite the fact its effectiveness hasn't been proven yet. That sounds to me like a multi-level marketing spiel to me. I don't know about you. What do you guys think? Well, let's go ahead and jump over to the comments, then we'll kind of get to the meat of what we're going to get at talking about here. Oh, boy. We don't have minority neighborhoods. Similar models of crime prevention don't target dangerous folks on time. Usually the neighbors report, police comes, and justice just lets them walk. Greetings, Kathy. How's it going there? Or Saddle Ridge, should I say? Yeah, I recognize your profile picture. Good thing you didn't change the profile picture. I wouldn't believe you. Okay, if our justice system is crooked, technology does not help at all. Yep, correct. I suspect if you send someone to a neighborhood looking for criminals, they'll likely find them, real or not. Mods can't leave. All right. Thinking about installing Ubuntu Mate. Cool. Have fun with it. Does it say anything about the relationship between narcotics and violent crimes and the use of narcotics by the different races? No, but PredPol doesn't actually look for that. Greetings, Joe. How's it going? Don't tell me a Labour's Party in Germany is involved with such bias. Yeah, I know. From sample you showed, it's totally skewed. Greetings, Dr. Rob. Hello, is it Aboilus? Greetings. Go see Bisquick channel right now. No. Karaz, how's it going there? Hello. TSM, no comment. Other than working in Philly and Camden in the Villanova and Main Line, I know which is safer. Yeah. Credit score is extremely biased. If you are poor or a minority, you are at higher risk to default on your credit. Yes, very funny. Okay, a coffee shop in Oakland will not serve police officers for the safety of its customers. In California, a coffee shop will not serve cops, citing physical and emotional safety concerns. Seems like Minority Report. Yes, it does. Yes, it does indeed. Great vid. It all works both ways and will never change. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on over to what we wanted to talk about. And that is this company. So all of that predictive policing stuff, that's what we've said. But here's an article from The Verge, which seems to be very well researched. However, there's a small conspiracy theory in and of itself. Palantir has secretly been using New Orleans to test its predictive policing technology. That is kind of scary because this system is used by Palantir. Does anybody know what the name Palantir comes from? Well, it comes from Lord of the Rings. It happens to be these crazy spheres that everybody can look with power can look into and see everything else that goes in the rest of the world. A very apt name for a company created by Peter Thiel, who doesn't really want you to have any privacy. Because, you know, one of his other big startups was Facebook. Well, I mean, he was a VC of Facebook is what I should say. But anyway, that is kind of where they're getting their name. And actually, one of their conferences has Hobbit in the name. I'm wondering if there's any relationship to that as well. But anyway, this is just kind of creepy that this one company here, which is a big data collection company, has secretly been using its predictive policing technology in New Orleans. The only people that knew about it was New Orleans police, the mayor's office, and the city lawyer. And that just sounds like an episode of corruption right there. Now, though, that this is broke, I have a sneaky suspicion that the mayor will probably not be the mayor at the next election cycle. That's my thought, because people in Louisiana are a little concerned about this type of stuff. And it would make sense to me that they probably will vote him out. And so In this, basically, we're not going to read through all this article. You guys can do that, and especially since this is long. But it kind of goes into how this happened. Because if a predictive policing system moves into a police department, usually there's some type of public announcement or whatever else. How they managed to do it under the radar is they got into the system, and what they did is they got in as a philanthropic way. They're like, we're going to do this as a means to help the city. They weren't paid by the city, and so they never ran it through city council. But they promised to collect all of this data and have a better policing model. This stands separately from PredPol because PredPol is utilizing past crime statistics. What Palantir is actually doing is scraping up every bit of information about everybody, a whole dragnet, and utilizing that to identify specific people. Very much like Chicago's very failed heat list. Everything you're doing on social media is being scooped up to these guys. And being as that their VC has ties and board connections to Facebook, it wouldn't surprise me if they were able to scoop up stuff that's not even public. They're scraping up all of this data in what they aptly call the I think it's called the SNA, the social network something. It's in here somewhere. I've got to find the name of that one. It said this article is long. Okay, data on individuals came from information scraped from social media as well as New Orleans Police Department criminal databases. For ballistics, gangs, probation, and parole information, jailhouse phone calls, calls for servants, and central case management system, which also includes a lot of other things, and department repository field interview cards, which is basically like the New York stop and frisk law. A police officer could stop you and ask you a whole lot of questions for no reason whatsoever. Latter database represents every documented encounter with the citizens, even those that don't result in arrests. All right. Let's see. So they list potential victims and perpetrators of gang violence generated by Palantir to target individuals for the city's ceasefire program. Ceasefire is a form of decades-old carrot-and-stick strategy developed by David Kennedy, a professor at John Jay College in New York. In the program, law enforcement informs potential offenders with criminal records that they know of their past actions and will prosecute them to the fullest extent if they reoffend. Basically, helping some people, threatening others. Okay, that's it. SNA, Social Network Analysis. According to Serpens, the person who initially ran New Orleans Social Network Analysis from 2013 to 2015 was Jeff Asher, a former intelligence agent who joined NOPDA from the CIA. If someone had been shot, Serpens explained, Asher would use Palantir's software to find people associated with them through the field of interviews or social media data. This data analysis brings up names and connections between people on field interview cards and traffic stops, on victims of reports, reporting victims, and other crimes altogether. Whatever the case may be, this kind of information is valuable for anybody who's doing an investigation. That's kind of scary stuff. So this is what Palantir sets apart, is they're actually utilizing real names, real data, real people inside of this giant database to actually list and target individuals, much closer to the Minority Report sort of things. Now, this was all done getting around City Council. Nobody in City Council even knew about this until The Verge started poking around. So it's curious to see in the next coming weeks what's going to happen with this program. It was set to renew, I think, 23rd or something of February, and I'm not sure if it has or not. Greetings, Highland. How's it going there? What is predictive policing? So it's basically the government spying you to decide if you're a suspect in a crime or not. Essentially. Basically what's going on is that on PredPol, they're identifying areas of crime. What Palantir is doing is actually targeting people. That is the thing that makes us bad. And this is why I have the little problem with PredPol, is that with PredPol, people are getting in there and just kind of starting to do some of this stuff. And so that is kind of, that is kind of what the challenge happens to be. Of course, here is Palantir's website, products built for a purpose. Yeah, spying on your citizens for any data problem, analytical applications, data fusion reforms. Of course, if you come down here to your solutions, one of them that we find is, law enforcement. So law enforcement, for federal and local law enforcement agencies, Palantir Law Enforcement equips officers and agents with the tools they need to easily analyze intelligence, securely collaborate on investigations, manage cases, produce reports, and respond to crime as it happens. Who needs our help? Law enforcement organizations store information in numerous databases with no way of accessing, searching, or reviewing the information in one place. Officers and agents often have to access several different databases to compile information on a single suspect, collect relevant data on location of interest, or investigate a criminal case. Agents, detectives, and other officers must access yet another system to manage their cases. Sharing information requires cutting and pasting text or manually typing reports. So that's what they're hoping to solve. One database to rule them all. And we're giving it to Sauron. And this raises a lot of issues because one of the directors, in fact, is Teal either the president? I think Teal is the president and the chairman of the board, is also a board of directors with Facebook. How do we know he's not taking the data that you choose not to make private and also including it? Giving that data to law enforcement without cause, without justification. But this is the danger of the third-party network. So if you want to make sure that everything's going okay for you, just keep your stuff offline. Avoid social media where you can avoid it. If you have to use it, don't post personal stuff on it. All you're doing is being shameful, giving your data to someone else. That's the danger with this kind of stuff. All right. JJ Game, greetings. Didn't realize it. 5 today. Yeah, Saturday is usually 5. Man with 43 previous arrests, bust again for drugs in Hartford. Yeah, you know. Shall I try Deep in Linux? Yes, let me know how it is. Glad I'm not living in the U.S. Yeah, well, this Predpol is also being used in a lot of international places as well, though. UK, I know it's being used. I forget what the other countries, but there's several countries that are actually all using it. You know, Linux distro with just a browser. Ubuntu 18 is going to come with a minimal install that doesn't have any software on it that's not core. You can do that and just install a browser. You need a distro that can run Sublime Text. Linux Mint. Wait, there's a typo in the bottom of the video. Is there? Like in the video description at the bottom, or actually on my banner? Wouldn't surprise me. Let me know where the typo is. All right. Well, I think that that kind of wraps up what I want to talk about today. A little shorter one today. That's very short. That's too short. All right. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let me just in case you want to see the better full screen of my exciting Minority Report office. There you go. A little bit of GIMP job in there. I don't say Photoshop. I do GIMP job. In the banner? Yeah, there might be a typo in my banner. Oh, well, nothing I can do about that. Better luck next time, I guess. Oh, predictive. Oh, well. Yeah, serves me right for doing those too quickly. Well, let's go ahead and feed the kitty, and then we will go ahead and wrap this up. So this is the final call for comments. Oh, you know it's coming, don't you? Oh yeah, you know it. You know it, kitty. You know it. Yeah. Oh. Kitty's like, you want to put your paw in there? It's so cute when you put your paw in there. Oh, for the camera. Here you go. Let's do for this camera now. And we'll do one more in this camera right up here. Up, up. There you go. Yeah. Kitty, are they finger looking good, Kitty? Yeah. You like your Meow Mix treats, don't you? What do you like better? Do you like Meow Mix better or Temptations better? I don't know. Anyway. Let's see. Final comments. Let's see. I like the name Sad Error 256 now. That's pretty cool, you know. Nice, Tom. Thank you, Dr. Rob. Tried Cloud Ready. I've not. Right. Spit blocks. Thank goodness they have mirrors. Yeah, kitty, kitty, kitty. Predictive kitty treats. Yes. Kitty, haven't seen him in so long. Yes, the kitty. Want to wave bye-bye to everybody? Bye-bye, everybody. And Mr. Pseudo Linux, tell your mouse or your rat, I'm really, 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 really sorry. I never got a chance to meet him. There's a Wi-Fi adapter. Is there a Wi-Fi adapter you recommend that works well for Linux? I have two of them. Neither are stable under any Linux distro. I'm guessing you might mean a USB adapter. Mine is actually from a Raspberry Pi Canic kit. That's the one I have. That's actually the only USB one that I have. Just make sure you don't get one that's Broadcom because it won't work with some slightly older Linux distros. No longer using the Chromebook, huh? Well, hey, if you're using it to development test, man, that's fine. And 64, enjoy all the vids. Awesome. When I see someone that agree to disagree. All right. Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. We will catch you later. Have a good one.